Hello, BookTube! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, your favorite Mexican booktuber who is also a psychoanalyst practicing here in Mexico City. I've been Mexican my entire life, living here, and yet I am doing these videos in English, talking about books in English. Anyway, let's just get started. This is gonna be a video where I will be talking about the only three, what a sad number, 3 books that I completed in the month of January 2024. And also, I will be telling you about the books that I I will force myself to read in February. So let's get started. The first book that I completed in January was The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I did a separate video talking about this book. This book grows and grows and grows on me the more I think about it and the more I distance myself from it. But it was such a ride. It was just such an adventure, such an experience. It's a fantasy standalone and it is whimsically written. It is sort of evoking a kind of colorful Studio Ghibli Hayao Miyazaki vibe aesthetic in my mind, at least. That's how I pictured it. It also is reminiscent of The Never-Ending Story, which is my favorite book of all time. What this book is about, it's very, very hard to really pinpoint exactly what the story is about without giving away the fun that this book entails, which is discovering it and sort of watching it unfold and being immersed in it, because this truly is an immersive experience. It's not even a story that makes this book be what it is. It's more the actual reading experience itself, because it is quite an immersive, imaginative, just joyful experience. Anyway, this book is about a character who sort of falls asleep in a way into this kind of like dream-like limbo, weird, oniric state. And in that space, there's a theater called the Inverted Theater. And on that stage, he witnesses this kind of play where this story is being told, which is this kind of mythical origin story for himself and his family, but also it's this wonderful, truly fantastical story where two men have to do this quest and bring down the empire, and it's just such a wild ride. It's hard to describe, but if you like fantasy, if you like interesting storytelling devices, if you like creative narrative lines and narrative choices, if you like having your mind blown away, and if you are willing to be patient and put in the work, because this book actually allows you to sort of go with it in order to really click with it. It's not a book that will hold your hand from the get-go and be like, hey, this is a very easy story, come with me. No, this is sort of challenging at first, but once you get to like page 100 or even earlier than that, like page 50, you really get what's going on. This is such a delightful experience. I also really loved it because it mimicked, in a way, the psychoanalytical experience. Being a psychoanalyst myself, I was really, really blown away by how this book sort of replicates that feeling when, as a psychoanalyst, I am listening to a patient. This gave me that experience. So The Spear Cuts Through Water, truly imaginative, creative, completely atmospheric, evocative, vibey, and just 4.5 stars. Not quite the 5-star book for me, but it was great. The second book that I completed in January was Dracula by Bram Stoker. Can you believe that I hadn't actually read Dracula before? I'm a fool. You're a fool, Harry Potter, and you will lose everything. I was a fool for not having read Dracula. Although I did actually make the mistake of watching the movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula Coppola movie adaptation of it first, and then I dove into the book, and it was kind of a weird experience because I really liked the book, but I cannot help but feeling like if I hadn't watched the movie prior to reading the book, I would have loved the book so much more. But yeah, the movie kind of spoiled the book for me a bit. Not to say that the book was not great. It is great. I think it's a 3.5-star book for me personally. But I really liked the feel of it. I really like the way that it's told. It's told through letters and sort of different documents that you are kind of looking through these documents. You are looking into the pieces, bits and pieces of the story of this Dracula monster. And I really like that it's kind of understated. It's very subdued. It's very subtle. And I just imagine how this book should have been received when it came out originally, like way back when. So I really liked it. I really like some of the writing in here. I think it was really beautiful. Nothing that really blew me away because it's a story as old as time, tale as old as time. Anyway, so I liked it. Not my favorite classic, but pretty good. And the third and last book that I completed in January was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, Rebecca F. Kuang. This was just riveting. A lot of people reviewing this book are very moderate. Like they are very aware of how they describe the book, because this book deals with racism and a lot of problematic, controversial issues. And so most of the reviewers that I have seen talking about this book are like, oh no, reading this book was not fun. It was just like really interesting. And I'm like, no, don't kid yourself. Just don't be afraid of saying something problematic. This book was a lot of fun. This book was so much fun. I don't care if it sounds problematic. It is a book about racism and many other issues. And I just don't understand why some booktubers and some people out there are so afraid of saying that reading a book about racism or about all of these topics can be fun. It is fun. I mean, what can you do? It is really fun. I loved reading this book. It was an experience. It's a joy to read, actually. I will say that, even though I might be canceled. But you know what? If I haven't been canceled up to this point, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Fingers crossed. So this book follows the story of this character. She's a white woman, like just your average, like when you think of an American white woman who went to college and studied, I think, well, she's a writer, and she is not really successful. But she has this friend who is like the it girl. She is really smart, really fashionable, really kind of ethereal. Her name is Athena. She's Asian. And she writes this really, really wonderful books. And she's like a bestseller author. And she just has everything. And people in the industry are really sort of making her like the diversity celebrity. You know, she's like the Asian female sort of kooky weirdo kind of writer. And so what happens on the very first chapter of this book is that girl Athena dies and our main character steals the manuscript that Athena had been working on for a long time. And she steals the manuscript and sort of changes it a bit, but then she publishes it under her name. And the tale that ensues is just riveting. Reading this book was such a joyful experience. I had a lot of fun. The writing is very clean, very sparse, but really vivid. And that's the kind of writing that I click with. That's the kind of writing that I love. Writing that feels lean, clean, smart, uh, well chosen, well selected, and that just tells the minimum, but it's also evocative and lifelike enough. I really love the writing. I love the story. I love that we follow this particular character. It is a tale about so many different things. I mean, I guess if I wanted to, I could write an entire essay talking about this book and make an entire video dedicated to this book. I'm not going to because I think there are far smarter people than me that have already talked quite extensively enough about this book. But yeah, this book is great. It talks about real issues. It's incredibly playful. It is kind of satirical. It's written like a thriller, so you really cannot. Uh, it's really well paced, and you cannot just be satisfied with one chapter. You have to like read and read and read and read, and you just want to keep turning the page. So yeah, I really loved it. In the end, I would have loved for this book to go a little further into crazy territory than it actually did. I would have liked for this to have been more nightmarish and anxious, because I think it could have gone way worse than it actually did. Like, yeah, I think this book could have been more catastrophic and it would have been more fun. But I loved it. It's a very smart critique. And yeah, I think this book does a lot of things really well, and it's really fun. It's a book that I would recommend to pretty much anyone out there. So it is a 4 out of 5 stars book for me. Those are the books that I completed in January. January was kind of a very busy time of year for me, so I wasn't able to read as much. But now, February, I give you my word, I will try harder and I will do better. So the book that I am currently reading, I am halfway there, is Wellness by Nathan Hill. This is a book that I just found at my local bookstore, which is a bookstore that sells only books in English, Libros, here in Mexico City, Lomas de Chapultepec. And it's my favorite independent bookstore here in Mexico City. It's beautiful. They have really amazing coffee, and I just love it. And I saw it there on the shelf, like new arrivals, and I was really drawn to this beautiful artwork on the front cover. And Nathan Hill is an author that I already have somewhere in a shelf. I have his novel The Knicks, which I never read. I just bought it. I never read it, but now I saw that he came up with this book and it has received some really great reviews. So I went ahead and bought a copy. And at first I wasn't really liking it, but then I am now completely sucked into the book. It's great. It's so much fun. It's such an intelligent book. It has some flaws that I cannot quite forgive or oversee, but still, it's such a good book. And it's a strange book for me to read because it is contemporary literary fiction. When was the last time that I ever read a contemporary literary fiction novel? So I am really liking it, and yeah, I'm halfway there. So I will be reading that, and then I have 5 more books that I want to force myself to read because I am a sadistic, masochistic reader. I am going to be reading The Curfew by T.M. Logan. This is a thriller, and I have heard from a booktuber that I just subscribed to, whose reading taste is incredibly similar to mine. She raved about this book. This was a book that she highly recommended, and The Curfew is about this, I think, man or a character who wakes up in the middle of the night to find out that their son never came home, and it's supposed to be really well-paced, relentless thriller. So yeah, I'm really excited to read something actually thrilling. Then I am gonna read the most heterosexual thing that's ever been published. Patti LuPone's biography. Yeah. Patti LuPone, a memoir. This is by Patti LuPone with Digby Deal. And who doesn't like Patti LuPone? Patti LuPone is one of the divas that I worship in this house. In this home, we worship Barbara. We worship Patti more than Barbara. We worship Freud, Sigmund Freud. We worship Ben Platt, actually. We worship a lot of people, and Patti is one of them. And don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence. I just adore this woman. Her voice is, to me, the epitome of what singing technique can do and can be. I just adore Patti to death. I was supposed to see Patti live on Broadway in Company, Stephen Sondheim's Company, the revival of Company in 2021. And the night that I was there watching the show, she had COVID and we saw her understudy. Jenny Simard, amazing performer, amazing performance by Jennifer Simard. But when you are going to New York, saving all of your money to go and see Patti LuPone, and that doesn't happen, that's a bummer. Anyway, I am reading Patti LuPone's biography. What more can I say? This is going to be my favorite book of the year, I can tell you that. Then I'm going to read Anthony Horowitz's The Word is Murder. The Word is Murder. Murder, murder. The Word is Murder. This is book 1 in the... it's a new series that he wrote. What is it? I don't even know what I think it's Hawthorne and Horowitz, I think, is the title. I don't know. It's a series of murder mysteries, thrillers, Anthony Horowitz wrote 2 books that I read last year that were my favorite books of the year, Magpie Murders and Moonflower Murders. And so I need to read more Anthony Horowitz because I think he's going to be my new favorite author ever. Then I'm going to read Yearbook by Seth Rogan. Again, this is another beautiful cover. This is another book that I saw at my local independent bookstore, Libros, here in Mexico City, Lomas de Chapultepec, Monte Ararat. And isn't it beautiful? Isn't this just so pretty? I really hope this book is great, but even if it's not great, I am still keeping it here in my home as a decoration, as an ornamentive piece. It's such a beautiful cover. And I do love Seth Rogan. Actually, when I was younger, I was quite overweight. Like I'm severely obese, actually. And a lot of people told me that I was a mix of Jason Segel and Seth Rogan. And they were actually kind of right. But I love Seth Rogen's comedy. I love his humor. I love him as a person. He just sounds completely authentic to me, and I just love him. He cracks me up. So I'm going to read his book, which is, I don't even know what it's about, but it's a candid collection of side-splitting essays. Yeah, I'm going to read that. And finally, I am going to read Are We Having Fun Yet by Lucy Mangan. Now, if you are unaware, Lucy Mangan wrote one of the best books that I have read in the last 10 years. That book is called Bookworm. If you haven't read Bookworm and you are a bookworm yourself, you are missing out. That book is not only interesting and smart and clever, it is hilarious. It's hilarious. I was laughing like actual tears, like streaming down my face with laughter, reading Bookworm, a memoir of childhood reading. And reading that book made me fall completely like head over heels in love with Lucy Mangan. She just has this one of these voices that you read and you're like immediately like you feel a connection to this person, and you feel like you're soulmates in a way that haven't really met. That's how I felt reading Lucy Mangan's Bookworm, and now I am reading more of her books. I really hope this doesn't let me down, because she's just such a funny voice, so clever, so cozy, and so real and down to earth. And with all of the nonsense that's happening in the world every day, we need more of these kind of snarky, real, authentic voices, like no bullshit voices. So I'm gonna be reading this. I think this is a novel, but it's told in like a journal, like entries, I guess. I don't know. I'm just gonna completely dive into it and see what happens. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I am incredibly high right now on coffee. Caffeine is my religion. Caffeine is also something that we worship in this house, because in this house there is no religion allowed except for psychoanalysis and Broadway extravaganza. Anyway, I am just one reader. I'm signing off now because this video is already way too ridiculous. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video.